The night shift at Earth's Deep Space Monitoring Station was usually quiet. Dr. Elena Reyes liked it that way. The soft hum of computers and the gentle glow of screens created a peaceful environment where she could focus on the endless streams of data from the stars. Tonight was different. "That's strange," Elena muttered, adjusting her glasses as she stared at the monitor. A pattern repeated every 12.7 seconds, too regular to be natural cosmic noise. She had been tracking it for the past hour, wondering if it was just a glitch in the system. She tapped her colleague's shoulder. "James, take a look at this signal from Sector 47B. James Wong leaned over, his eyes narrowing as he studied the pattern. "That's not one of ours, and it's not using any Earth communication protocols I've ever seen." Elena nodded. "Exactly, and it's been repeating for at least the past hour." "You think it's—" James trailed off, not wanting to say the words out loud. "Alien? Maybe." Elena tried to keep her voice steady, but excitement crept in. "Let's run it through the advanced pattern recognition software." For the next 3 weeks, Elena barely left the station. She slept on a cot in her office, ate whatever the cafeteria served, and showered in the employee locker room. The signal consumed her thoughts. Each day brought new revelations as the computer slowly decoded the strange transmission. On day 23 at 2:17 a.m., the final piece fell into place. "Oh my God," Elena whispered as she read the translated message on her screen. The message was simple but chilling. "To any spacefaring civilization who receives this, we are the Lumini of the Cetus star system. Our world faces extinction by entities we call the Devourers. They consume planets, reshape them for their use. We have little time left. If you can help, we send coordinates and faster-than-light travel specifications. Please hurry." Elena's hands trembled as she reached for her phone. This wasn't just first contact with an alien civilization. It was a desperate cry for help from across the stars. Within hours, the station buzzed with activity. Government officials, military personnel, and scientists from around the world gathered to verify Elena's findings. "The signal appears to be genuine," Dr. Hendrik Visser, the station's director, explained to the emergency meeting of world leaders on the view screen. "And based on the decay rate, we believe it was sent approximately 34 years ago." 34 years? The UN Secretary General frowned. "Then they might already be—" "We don't know that," Elena interrupted, forgetting protocol in her urgency. "The signal is still transmitting, though it's getting weaker. Someone is still alive there, still hoping for help." Admiral Kai Takeda of the United Earth Fleet stepped forward. The decorated veteran had a reputation for bold decisions that sometimes bordered on recklessness, but his success rate was unmatched. "The message included specifications for faster-than-light travel," he said, his deep voice filling the room. "Our engineers believe we could retrofit our existing fleet with this technology. It would be risky but possible." "And what if it's a trap?" asked the Russian president. "What if these Devourers sent this message to lure us to our doom?" Elena shook her head. "The message contains too many details that only a desperate civilization would share. Star charts of their home system, biological data about their species, cultural information. Why include all that in a trap?" The debate raged for days as the world's governments argued about the proper response. Some wanted to send a message back first. Others suggested sending a single ship as a test. A few nations wanted nothing to do with alien problems. Meanwhile, Elena made another discovery. "The signal is deteriorating rapidly," she reported during the 5th day of meetings. "Based on our analysis, we estimate total signal failure within 2 months. After that, we may lose the ability to locate them precisely." Admiral Takeda had heard enough. During the critical UN Security Council meeting, he slammed his fist on the table. "While we sit here debating, an entire civilization could be dying," he said. "They've given us the means to help them. If someone's drowning, you don't debate whether the water's cold." His words struck a chord, especially with the younger nations who had themselves once faced extinction through colonization or war. The vote was close, 9-6 in favor of immediate action. Project Lifeline began the next day. 10 of Earth's best vessels, a mix of military, scientific, and colony ships, were selected for the desperate retrofit. The largest was the UNS Defiant, a military vessel that would serve as the mission flagship under Captain Sophia Chen, one of Earth's most experienced commanders. The integration of alien FTL technology proved challenging. Early tests resulted in drones disappearing completely or returning as twisted, melted debris. Engineers worked around the clock, making adjustments, learning through dangerous trial and error. "We're pushing the boundaries of physics as we understand it," Chief Engineer Rodrigo Alvarez explained to Captain Chen during a tour of the Defiant's new engine room. "But we're making progress." As the fleet prepared, Captain Chen assembled her crew, a diverse array of Earth's finest. Scientists, engineers, soldiers, and diplomats from every continent volunteered for the mission, despite knowing they might never return. Dr. Elena Reyes was among the first to sign up. "You discovered the signal," Captain Chen said during their interview. "You could stay here as mission coordinator. Why risk your life on the journey?" Elena's answer was simple. "Because they asked for help. Not just anyone, but me too. I heard them first. I can't just send others to answer." Lieutenant Commander Jackson Wade, a Marine with battle scars from the Mars insurrection, had a more practical view. During the final briefing, he approached Captain Chen with concerns. "Captain, we have no idea what we're flying into," he said, quietly. "These devourers defeated a technologically advanced civilization. What chance do we have?" Captain Chen considered his question carefully. "Consider what makes Earth different, Commander," she finally replied. "We evolved on a high-gravity planet with extreme weather, deadly predators, and constant warfare. We're adaptable, resilient, and, when necessary, ferocious." She looked out at the stars through the viewport. "If these devourers have never encountered humans before," she said with quiet confidence, "they're in for quite a surprise." 2 months after Elena first detected the signal, the retrofit was complete. 10 ships, crewed by Earth's bravest souls, prepared to venture into the unknown to save a species they had never met. As the fleet prepared for its first faster-than-light jump, Admiral Takeda sent a simple message back along the fading signals. "Path Lumini of Cetus, this is humanity of Earth. We heard your call. We are coming. Hold on." The massive hangar of the lunar shipyard buzzed with activity. Hundreds of engineers, scientists, and military personnel moved with urgency between the 10 spacecraft selected for Project Lifeline. Time was precious. Each day that passed could mean more lives lost on a distant world. Captain Sophia Chen stood on the observation deck, watching the controlled chaos below. Her ship, the UNS Defiant, dominated the center of the hangar. Originally designed for patrolling Earth's colonies on Mars and Europa, the vessel was now being transformed into something far more advanced. "Captain, the latest test results are in." Chen turned to see Chief Engineer Rodrigo Alvarez approaching with a tablet. His normally cheerful face looked tired, with dark circles under his eyes. "Show me," she said. Alvarez displayed a video of a small drone equipped with the alien, faster-than-light drive. The drone disappeared in a flash of blue light, then reappeared 10 seconds later, partially melted and giving off strange radiation. "That's the 7th test," Alvarez said. "We're making progress. This one actually came back in one piece." "Sort of," Chen frowned. "We're supposed to launch in 3 weeks. Will we be ready?" "We have to be," Alvarez replied simply. "The signal keeps getting weaker." Across the shipyard, Dr. Elena Reyes worked with a team of scientists to continue studying the alien message. Each day they discovered new details hidden within the complex transmission. "Look at this," Elena said, pointing to a new holographic display. "This appears to be biological data on the Lumini species." Her colleague, Dr. Yumi Tanaka, studied the shifting images. "Fascinating. If this is accurate, they evolved in a low-gravity environment with minimal temperature variations. And no natural predators," Elena added. "Their planet seems almost paradise-like. No wonder they weren't prepared for aggressive invaders." Lieutenant Commander Jackson Wade entered the lab, his military uniform contrasting with the scientist's casual clothes. "Doc, Captain Chen wants an update on the Devourers. Any new information? Elena gestured to another display. The message doesn't contain much tactical data. The Lumini weren't warriors. But from what we can piece together, these Devourers are methodical. They surround a planet, bombard its defenses, then land ground forces to establish terraforming. Equipment. Wade studied the limited images. They reshape planets to suit their needs, killing the original inhabitants in the process? Exactly, Elena confirmed. They're not just conquerors. They're ecosystem engineers, and they've been working their way through the Lumini star system for decades. Wade's expression darkened. We better get moving then. 2 weeks before the scheduled launch, Admiral Takeda called an emergency meeting aboard the Defiant. The ship's conference room was packed with the mission leaders. We've detected further degradation in the signal, Takeda announced. Our window is closing faster than anticipated. We need to launch within 7 days. The room erupted in concerned voices. Admiral, the FTL drives are still unstable. Alvarez protested. We haven't completed a successful manned test yet. And my crew is still training on the new systems, Captain Chen added. Takeda raised his hand for silence. I understand your concerns, but according to Dr. Reyes's analysis, the signal might fail completely within 2 weeks. If that happens, we lose our navigation point. The room fell quiet as the gravity of the situation sank in. 7 days, Chen finally said. We'll be ready. The next week was a blur of activity. Sleep became a luxury as everyone worked around the clock to prepare the fleet. Wade supervised combat training for the military personnel. In the Defiant's largest cargo bay, transformed into a makeshift training ground, he watched his Marines practice with new weapons designed to function in various atmospheric conditions. Again, he shouted as a squad practiced rapid deployment. These aliens might be fighting for their lives while we're running drills. Faster. In engineering, Alvarez finally achieved a breakthrough. A test shuttle successfully completed an FTL jump to Mars and back without damage. The cheers in mission control could be heard throughout the lunar base. The night before launch, Captain Chen couldn't sleep. She stood in her quarters aboard the Defiant, looking at the photo of her family on Earth. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. Enter, she called. Elena stepped into the room, also looking tired but excited. Captain, I thought you might want to see this. We've cleaned up some of the later portions of the Lumini message. She placed a tablet on Chen's desk. A soft, musical language played, followed by its translation. If you are receiving this, we believe you may be from what ancient texts call a death world, a planet with conditions most species would find impossible. The legends speak of such beings stronger, faster, more resilient than others. If you exist, if you are real, please help us. We have children hiding in our deepest shelters. They still sing songs of hope, waiting for saviors from the stars. Chen felt a chill run through her body. They were specifically looking for us. For humans. Or someone like us, Elena agreed. A species tough enough to fight these Devourers. Are we? Chen asked quietly. Elena considered this. Humans have survived ice ages, plagues, world wars, and our own near destruction of our planet. We've lived through it all and kept going. If anyone can help them, it's us. Chen nodded, feeling new determination. Get some rest, Doctor. Tomorrow we make history. Launch day arrived with clear skies over the lunar shipyard. The 10 vessels of the human fleet hovered in formation above the moon's surface, their hulls gleaming in the sunlight. The Defiant's command center, Captain Chen took her place in the captain's chair. Around her, the bridge crew monitored their stations with focused intensity. All systems online, reported the operations officer. FTL drive at standby. Fleet reports ready, Captain, added the communications officer. Chen opened a channel to all 10 ships. This is Captain Chen. Today we embark on humanity's first interstellar mission, not for conquest or exploration, but to answer a call for help from a civilization we've never met. We don't know exactly what awaits us at the end of this journey, but we go with purpose and unity. She paused, looking at the faces of her crew. The Lumini have waited more than 30 years for someone to hear their call. Today we answer, activate FTL drives on my mark. Throughout the fleet, engineers engage the alien technology that would bend space and time around their ships. 3, 2, 1, mark. 10 vessels carrying the hopes of 2 civilizations vanished in flashes of brilliant blue light. Humanity had just taken its first step into a much larger galaxy, not as conquerors, but as rescuers. And somewhere, 47 light-years away, a dying civilization was about to meet the Deathworlders who answered their call. The journey through faster-than-light travel was unlike anything humans had experienced before. For the crew of the Defiant, it felt like being stretched thin across the universe, while simultaneously compressed into a single point. Some reported seeing impossible colors or hearing strange whispers just beyond understanding. After what felt like both an eternity and an instant, the human fleet emerged at the coordinates provided in the Lumini message. Captain Chen recovered first, blinking. Away the disorientation. Status report, she managed, her voice slightly hoarse. All ships accounted for, Captain, the communications officer replied. Minor system fluctuations, but no critical damage. Sensors coming back online, announced the science officer. Beginning. Scans of the system. The main view screen flickered to life and a collective gasp swept through the bridge. Before them lay a star system bearing the unmistakable scars of war. The third planet, the origin of the SOS, was surrounded by debris fields, shattered spacecraft, broken space stations, and what appeared to be massive defensive platforms now, silent. The planet itself showed dark patches visible even from orbit, continents scarred by impact craters and oceans tinted with unnatural colors. My God, Elena whispered from her station. They've been fighting all this time. Lieutenant Commander Wade studied the tactical display with a professional eye. Looks like they put up one hell of a fight. Any signs of life? Chen asked, leaning forward in her chair. The science officer worked her controls, detecting weak energy signatures from underground installations, also scattered settlements on the night side of the planet. But population readings are far below what we'd expect for a civilization this advanced. Chen stood up. Send a message on the frequency the Lumini used for their SOS. Let them know we've arrived. For several tense minutes there was no response. Then a weak signal reached the Defiant. A voice speaking in the musical language they had heard in the message came through the speakers. The computer translated, "Unidentified vessels. Is this really happening? Are you answering our call? Please confirm." The hope and disbelief in the voice was unmistakable. "This is Captain Sophia Chen of the Earth vessel Defiant. We received your distress signal and have come to help. We are not alone. We've brought a fleet." There was a pause, then sounds that might have been crying or laughter. 36 years. We have waited 36 years. Some said help would never come. But the elders insisted we keep the transmitter running. Can you land? Can we meet our saviors? Chen looked at Wade. Prepare a landing party, full security protocols, but remember, these people asked for our help. We're not going in hostile. The landing shuttle descended through the atmosphere of the Lumini homeworld. Through the viewports, the team could see vast cities, now mostly in ruins. Forests once lush and green were burned to ash. Lakes that might have been beautiful were now stained with chemicals. Wade led the landing party, consisting of a mixed team of Marines, scientists, and diplomats. Dr. Elena Reyes fidgeted with her equipment, eager to meet the aliens who had sent the message she'd first discovered. Stay alert, Wade reminded his team as the shuttle touched down in a clearing near one of the energy signatures. We don't know if the Devourers left any surprises behind. They exited the shuttle into the alien air. Their environmental suits had been deemed unnecessary after analysis showed the atmosphere was compatible with human biology, though slightly lower in oxygen than Earth. Gravity's lighter, one Marine commented, taking a bouncing step. Maybe 60% of Earth normal. Wade nodded. Remember your training for low-G environments. Don't jump too high or move too quickly. They approached what appeared to be The entrance to an underground complex, a simple metal doorway built into the side of a hill, camouflaged with local vegetation. Before they could reach it, the door slid open. Several figures emerged cautiously, their movements hesitant. The humans stopped, staring in wonder at their first sight of the Lumini. They were tall, most standing over 2 meters, with slender bodies that seemed almost too delicate to support themselves. Their skin shimmered with a pearly luminescence that shifted color slightly as they moved. Large almond-shaped eyes dominated faces that had no visible nose, just small breathing slits. Instead of hair, they had what looked like fine, translucent tendrils that floated gently around their heads. One stepped forward, wearing what appeared to be a robe decorated with intricate patterns. "I am Elder Soren," the alien said, the words translated through the humans' communication devices. "I have led our final resistance for the past 20 cycles. Are you really from another world? You came because of our message?" Elena stepped forward. "Yes, I'm Dr. Elena Reyes. I was the one who first detected your signal. We've traveled 47 light years to reach you." The Lumini studied the humans with obvious shock. "You are not what we expected," Elder Soren admitted. "Your bodies, they are so dense, so compact. And your movements." Wade noticed the aliens seemed almost frightened by the humans' appearance. "Is something wrong?" he asked. Elder Soren made a gesture that might have been embarrassment. "Forgive me. It's just that you are clearly not from a world like ours. Your physical structure suggests evolution in a high-gravity environment with significant environmental pressures. Earth is about 1.6 times the gravity of your world," Elena explained. "And yes, our planet has extreme weather patterns, diverse ecosystems, and significant natural hazards." "A death world," another Lumini whispered. "The legends were true," Wade raised an eyebrow. "Death world?" Elder Soren nodded. "In our ancient texts, there are stories of species that evolved on worlds that would kill most other life forms. Planets with crushing gravity, extreme temperature variations, high radiation, and aggressive predators. These Deathworlders were said to possess incredible physical resilience and adaptability." As they spoke, a commotion came from behind the Lumini. A large piece of debris, part of a collapsed structure, had shifted, trapping several of the aliens who had been working nearby. Without hesitation, Wade and 2 Marines rushed forward. What the Lumini had been struggling to move as a group, Wade lifted by himself with a grunt of effort. The Marines quickly pulled the trapped aliens to safety. Elder Soren and the others stared in astonishment. "Such strength," Soren said quietly. "Perhaps the legends were true. Perhaps only Deathworlders could survive what comes next." "What exactly are we facing?" Wade asked, returning to the group. "Your message mentioned Devourers, but we need more information." Elder Soren gestured for the humans to follow. "Come inside our shelter. I will show you what we fight against, and why we have been losing." As they entered the underground complex, Elena noticed how the Lumini watched the humans with a mixture of fear, awe, and hope. "They're not just seeing us as rescuers," she whispered to Wade. "They're looking at us like we're their last chance." Wade nodded grimly. "Let's hope we can live up to that." Inside the complex, thousands of Lumini lived in cramped conditions never meant for long-term habitation. Children with wide, curious eyes peeked out from behind adults. Some of the youngest had never seen the surface of their world. Elder Soren led them to a command center where holographic displays showed the planet and surrounding space. "The Devourers," Soren explained, "are not simply conquerors. They're ecosystem engineers who transform planets to match their preferred environmental conditions through aggressive terraforming." Images appeared of insectoid creatures with complex exoskeletons, moving with precise coordinated motions. "Their process renders worlds uninhabitable for the original species," Soren continued. "We've been fighting a defensive war for decades, but our civilization was built on art, philosophy, and science, not warfare. We were unprepared for their brutality." Wade studied the tactical displays, already analyzing weaknesses in the Devourer forces. "When do you expect their next attack?" Soon, Elder Soren said gravely. They've been gathering their forces. This will be their final push to eliminate our remaining resistance. Wade and Elena exchanged looks. They had arrived just in time. Then we'd better get to work, Wade said. It's time to introduce these devourers to humanity. Admiral Takeda stood before the holographic display in the Defiance war room. Around him gathered Captain Chen, Lieutenant Commander Wade, Dr. Reyes, and Elder Soren, along with other human and Lumini leaders. The Lumini expected a rescue mission, Takeda said, studying the tactical display. Instead, we're going to give them a counteroffensive. The Admiral's plan was bold. Instead of simply evacuating the remaining Lumini, the human fleet would position itself throughout the system, using the debris fields for cover. They would ambush the Devourer forces when they arrived for their final attack. With respect, Admiral, one of the Lumini representatives said hesitantly, we have been fighting the Devourers for generations. They adapt quickly and have overwhelming numbers. Takeda nodded. I understand your concern, but you've been fighting defensively. It's time to take the fight to them. We also have something they haven't encountered before, Wade added. Us. Over the next 3 days, the human fleet prepared for battle. Engineers from the fleet worked with Lumini technicians to integrate their technologies. The aliens were astonished at how quickly humans adapted to their advanced systems. Your species has remarkable problem-solving abilities, a Lumini engineer told Chief Engineer Alvarez as they modified the Defiance weapon systems. Alvarez shrugged. When you grow up on a planet that's constantly trying to kill you, you learn to improvise. Meanwhile, Dr. Reyes made a critical discovery while studying Devourer communication patterns from previous encounters. They use complex electromagnetic pulses to communicate, she explained to Captain Chen. It's almost like a hive mind. Individual Devourers can function alone, but they share information instantly across their network. Chen leaned forward, interested. Could we disrupt that network? Possibly, Reyes replied, excitement building in her voice. If we could generate precisely calibrated interference, we might be able to break their coordination. I'm working with the Lumini scientists to develop a prototype. On the planet's surface, Lieutenant Commander Wade had taken on an unexpected role, teaching warfare to beings who had never considered violence as a solution. I don't understand, said a young Lumini named Tarrell, holding a makeshift weapon awkwardly. Why destroy when we could communicate? Because sometimes, Wade said, patiently, the other side isn't interested in talking. The Devourers don't want to share your world. They want to take it. Wade had assembled a joint human-Lumini fighting force. The Marines were impressed by the aliens' quick learning, while the Lumini were astonished by human endurance. You've been training for 6 hours without rest, Elder Soren observed during one session. Wade, who had been demonstrating hand-to-hand combat techniques, wiped sweat from his brow. On Earth, this would be a light workout. Soren's expression was unreadable, but there was new respect in those large alien eyes. Perhaps we have been fighting ineffectively all this time. We tried to match their strength directly. A contest. We could not win. Asymmetrical warfare, Wade nodded. When you can't overpower your enemy, you outthink them. To demonstrate, Wade set up a simulation using Lumini holographic technology. He showed how a smaller force could defeat a larger one through ambushes, hit-and-run tactics, and targeting critical weaknesses. The Lumini watched in silence. Then Elder Soren spoke. For generations, we have considered warfare barbaric beneath our cultural values. Now I see it as an art form we never bothered to study. The best warriors, Wade replied, are those who fight not because they love violence, but because they love what they're protecting. On the 4th day, the warning came. Lumini long-range sensors detected a massive energy signature entering the outer system. The Devourer fleet had arrived. Exactly as predicted, Takeda said on the bridge of the Defiant. All ships, battle, positions. The human vessels moved into their predetermined hiding spots among the debris fields, weapons charged and ready. Dr. Reyes's electromagnetic pulse device had been installed on several ships, ready for deployment once the main Devourer, Vessel came within range. Captain Chen opened a channel to the fleet. This is it. Remember, we're not just fighting for the Lumini today. We're showing the galaxy what happens when you threaten a civilization under humanity's protection. The Devourer ships entered the inner system. Massive organic mechanical hybrid vessels that seemed to pulse with unnatural life. Their design was unlike anything humans had seen before. Curved asymmetrical hulls that resembled insect carapaces more than spacecraft. They're scanning the planet, reported the sensor officer. No indication they've detected our ships yet. Takeda waited until the Devourer fleet had fully committed to their approach. Then he gave the order. All ships, attack pattern Alpha. Engage. The human fleet erupted from their hiding places, catching the Devourer ships in a perfectly executed crossfire. The UNS Defiant led the assault, its main cannons, now enhanced with Lumini technology, tearing through the hull of the nearest enemy vessel. The Devourers, accustomed to overwhelming force against passive resistance, found themselves under attack from multiple vectors. Their response was initially chaotic, their coordinated network struggling to process this unexpected threat. The battle quickly intensified. Human ships executed high-G maneuvers that would have killed Lumini pilots, but merely strained human physiology. The smaller Earth vessels darted between the massive Devourer ships, targeting engines and weapon systems with surgical precision. On the Defiance bridge, Captain Chen gripped her chair as the ship banked sharply to avoid enemy fire. Direct hit. On Devourer Vessel 7, announced the tactical officer. Their main weapons array is disabled. 2 of our ships reporting moderate damage, called the communications officer. The Shanghai is withdrawing to safer range. Chen nodded. Tell Captain Lin to protect her crew. We can handle this. Dr. Reyes worked frantically at her station, monitoring the electromagnetic spectrum. The Devourers are adapting their communication frequency. They're learning faster than we anticipated. Deploy the pulse device, Chen ordered. The experimental device activated, sending precisely calibrated interference across the frequencies the Devourers used to coordinate. The effect was immediate. Several enemy ships began moving erratically, their actions no longer synchronized. It's working, Reyes exclaimed. On the planet below, Wade led his joint human Lumini forces against Devourer landing parties that had breached the surface defenses. The aliens had expected to find only the remaining Lumini resistance, easy targets for their final sweep. Instead, they encountered Marines fighting alongside newly trained Lumini fighters, employing guerrilla tactics that kept the methodical. Devourers off balance. Flank them, Wade shouted, firing his weapon at the insectoid creatures. The Lumini fighters moved with unexpected aggression, no longer hesitant about defending their world. The fighting was intense. Wade watched a young Marine take down a Devourer soldier twice her size, using the lower gravity to execute a perfect mid-air attack. Nearby, Tarl, the once reluctant Lumini fighter, led a squad that successfully destroyed a terraforming device. The Devourers had begun to deploy. Wade activated his comlink. Ground team to Defiant. We've engaged Devourer ground forces. They weren't expecting resistance at this level. We're holding them back from the civilian shelters. In orbit, the battle had reached a critical phase. The human fleet had inflicted significant damage on the Devourer vessels, but they were taking losses as well. The neural disruptor was effective but temporary. The Devourers were adapting, finding ways to communicate despite the interference. They're resilient, Admiral Takeda observed grimly as another human ship reported critical damage. But so are we. Captain Chen watched the tactical display, noting how the Devourers were changing formation. They were no longer treating this as a simple cleanup operation. They recognized they were in a real fight. They're learning, she said. But that's the difference between us and them. They adapt because it's programmed into them. We adapt because it's who we are. The battle was far from over, but for the first time in generations, the Lumini had reason to hope. The Deathworlders had brought not just strength and technology, but something the Devourers couldn't compute. the unpredictable ferocity of a species that evolved on a world where survival was never guaranteed. And the Devourers were about to learn what that truly meant. The battle had raged for 6 hours. Despite their initial success, the human fleet was taking heavy losses. 3 ships had been completely destroyed, their crews evacuating in emergency pods. The UNS Defiant, flagship of the fleet, suffered critical damage to its port side after taking a direct hit from a Devourer energy weapon. On the bridge, Captain Chen wiped blood from a cut on her forehead as she assessed the situation. The deck beneath her feet vibrated as the engines strained to maintain position. "Shields at 27%, reported her tactical officer. "Hull breaches on decks 4 through 7. Repair teams responding but were stretched thin." Chen studied the tactical display. The Devourers had quickly adapted to the human attack strategy, changing their formation to counter the fleet's maneuvers. What had begun as a successful ambush was turning into a war of attrition, and the humans were outnumbered. "They learn fast," Admiral Takeda observed, his uniform scorched from an electrical fire he had helped extinguish. "Much faster than we anticipated." Dr. Reyes looked up from her station, her face pale but determined. "That's because they're not just communicating. They're evolving in real time. The hive mind is directing biological changes in response to our attacks." Chen frowned. "You mean we're fighting an enemy that can adapt its physical form during battle?" "Exactly," Reyes confirmed. "Their ships and even their individual soldiers can modify themselves. Our electromagnetic disruption worked initially, but they've already developed resistance. The situation on the ground wasn't much better." Lieutenant Commander Wade crouched behind a collapsed wall, breathing heavily as he reloaded his weapon. Nearby, a group of human Marines and Lumini fighters waited for his signal. Their position had been overrun twice, but each time Wade's forces had recaptured it. The cost was high: 3 Marines dead, and dozens of Lumini wounded or killed. The Joint Force had managed to keep the Devourers from reaching the civilian shelters, but they couldn't hold out much longer. Wade's comm unit crackled to life. "Ground team, this is Defiant. Status report." "We're holding the line," Wade replied, "but just barely. These things are adapting to our tactics. Weapons that were effective an hour ago barely slow them down now." There was a brief silence before Chen's voice came through again. "We've detected something new entering the system. Long-range sensors show a massive vessel approaching, much larger than anything we've encountered so far." Wade felt a chill. "How much larger?" "It's the size of a small moon," came the grim reply. "We think it's their mothership." In orbit, the human fleet regrouped as the massive Devourer mothership slowly entered the inner system. It dwarfed everything around it, a planet killer that could complete the destruction of the Lumini homeworld. Admiral Takeda called an emergency strategy meeting in the Defiant's damaged war room. Captain Chen, Dr. Reyes, and the surviving ship captains attended in person or via hologram. "This changes everything," Takeda said, pointing to the scans of the mothership. "Our remaining fleet doesn't have the firepower to take down something that size." Chen studied the scans. "What about its weak points?" "Every ship has vulnerabilities." Dr. Reyes highlighted a section of the mothership's interior. "Based on our analysis of smaller Devourer vessels, this appears to be their central neural cluster, the core of their hive mind. If we could target that specifically, we might disrupt their entire force." "But how do we reach it?" asked Captain Diaz of the Buenos Aires, one of the few ships still at full fighting capacity. "Their defenses would destroy any conventional attack before it got close." A heavy silence fell over the room. Then Captain Chen looked up, her expression resolute. "The Defiant," she said quietly. "We could use it as a delivery system." All eyes turned to her. "The ship is already severely damaged," Chen continued. "We could modify Dr. Reyes's electromagnetic pulse device, strengthen it to affect the neural cluster, and use the Defiant to deliver it directly." Takeda understood immediately. "A suicide mission." Chen shook her head. "Not necessarily. We evacuate most of the crew. A skeleton team remains to pilot the ship into position. Once the device is deployed, they escape in pods." It was risky, perhaps impossibly so, but no one had a better idea. "I'll pilot it myself," Chen said firmly when Takeda hesitated. "It's my ship." On the planet below, the battle took a desperate turn. The arrival of the mothership had energized the Devourer forces, which pressed their attack with renewed vigor. Wade's team fell back to their final defensive position, the entrance to the largest Lumini civilian shelter. Terrell, now Wade's lieutenant in the Lumini forces, fought beside him. The once peaceful alien had become a capable warrior in a remarkably short time. "We can't hold this position much longer," Terrell warned, firing at advancing Devourers. Wade grimaced as he checked his weapon's power levels. "We just need to buy a little more time." His comm unit activated. "Ground team, this is Defiant. We're executing Operation Pulse. Hold your positions for 20 more minutes. Help is coming." Wade didn't know what Operation Pulse meant, but the determination in Chen's voice gave him hope. He rallied his exhausted fighters. 20 minutes. We hold for 20 minutes. A Devourer infiltration unit broke through their right flank. Wade moved to intercept, firing as he ran. A blast caught him in the side, piercing his armor. Pain exploded through his chest as the impact cracked ribs and punctured a lung. Despite the injury, Wade kept fighting. He dropped his depleted energy weapon and drew a combat knife, engaging the nearest Devourer in hand-to-hand combat. The creature's exoskeleton was tough, but Wade found the weak spots between its armored plates. A Lumini medic tried to pull him back for treatment, shocked that he was still fighting with such a severe wound. "You need immediate care," the medic insisted. Wade coughed blood but kept his position. "On Earth we call this Tuesday," he replied with a grim smile. In orbit, the Defiant prepared for its final mission. Most of the crew had evacuated to other vessels or the planet's surface. Only Captain Chen and a volunteer team of 12 remained. Aboard, Dr. Reyes had modified the electromagnetic pulse device, converting it into a weapon powerful enough to disrupt the mothership's neural cluster. The science was untested, but it was their best hope. "Approaching optimal firing position," reported Lieutenant Park, the remaining navigation officer. Chen nodded. "Charge the FTL drive." "Captain." Park looked confused. "We're not jumping away. We're moving into attack position." "Trust me," Chen replied. "We're going to use the drive in a way it wasn't designed for." Her plan was audacious. Use the FTL drive to make a micro-jump that would place the Defiant inside the mothership's defensive perimeter, too close for its weapons to effectively target them. It was a maneuver no sane pilot would attempt, jumping to a position so precise it would leave just meters of clearance on all sides. The Defiant wouldn't survive such a stunt, but Chen had calculated the minimum safe distance for her crew in escape pods. "Escape pods ready," Chen announced. "All crew except myself should board now." Her remaining officers hesitated. "That's an order," she said firmly. "I'll initiate the pulse and follow in the captain's pod." As the crew reluctantly complied, Chen opened a channel to both fleets. Her voice reached every human ship and every Devourer vessel. "This is humanity's answer to your SOS. We refuse extinction, ours or yours." The Defiant's engines flared as Chen executed the impossible jump, vanishing from its position and reappearing inside the mothership's defenses, so close that the massive vessel seemed to fill the entire view screen. Chen activated the pulse weapon and ran for the captain's escape pod as the ship began to break apart around her. The electromagnetic pulse erupted from the Defiant, aimed directly at the neural cluster of the mothership. For a moment, the universe seemed to hold its breath. The electromagnetic pulse tore through the Devourer mothership like a lightning strike through water. The massive vessel shuddered as the energy wave disrupted its neural cluster, severing the connections that united the hive mind. For a moment, everything seemed frozen in time. Then chaos erupted. Without central coordination, the Devourer forces fell into disarray. Their ships began moving erratically, some colliding with each other. On the planet's surface, the ground troops stopped their advance, their movements becoming uncoordinated and confused. In the command center of the human support ship Toronto, Admiral Takeda watched with bated breath as the mothership's lights flickered. "Did it work?" he asked. Dr. Reyes, who had transferred to the Toronto after helping modify the pulse device, studied the sensor readings. The neural network is collapsing. They're losing cohesion. What about the Defiant? Any sign of escape pods? The sensor officer shook his head. Too much interference from the pulse, we can't get clear readings. Takeda's expression remained stoic, but his hands gripped the console tightly. Continue scanning. Find those pods. On the surface, Wade and his fighters witnessed the sudden change in the Devourer forces. The enemy soldiers that had been relentlessly advancing moments ago now moved without purpose, some even fighting each other. What's happening? Terrell asked, lowering his weapon slightly. Wade, still bleeding from his wound but standing tall, watched as the remaining Devourers began to retreat. Captain Chen did it, he said quietly. They've lost their connection to the hive mind. With renewed energy, the joint human Lumini forces pressed their advantage, driving back the confused Devourers. What had been a desperate last stand transformed into a decisive victory. Wade coordinated the counterattack despite his injuries, refusing medical treatment until they had secured the area around the civilian shelters. Only when the last Devourer had been driven off did he finally allow himself to be taken to a medical station. As the Lumini medics treated him, using their advanced healing technology to repair his punctured lung, Wade received the news through his comm unit. The remaining Devourer ships were retreating from the system. And the Defiant? He asked. There was a pause before Admiral Takeda's voice responded. We've located most of the escape pods. Search teams are recovering them now, but Captain Chen's pod... He didn't need to finish the sentence. Wade closed, his eyes feeling the weight of what their victory had cost. 3 days later, search teams made a remarkable discovery in the debris field surrounding the destroyed mothership. Captain Chen's escape pod, severely damaged but intact, drifted among the wreckage. Inside they found Chen barely alive, having survived conditions that would have been instantly fatal to a Lumini. She was rushed to the Lumini's most advanced medical facility, where human and alien doctors worked together to save her life. The injuries were severe: broken bones, radiation exposure, and oxygen deprivation. But Chen's Deathworlder physiology gave her a fighting chance that surprised even the human doctors. Her body is still fighting, one Lumini doctor observed with wonder. Even unconscious, she refuses to surrender. Admiral Takeda visited her bedside each day. That's what humans do, he explained. We've evolved to survive when logic says we should die. A week after the battle, Elder Soren called for a joint assembly of humans and Lumini in the largest underground chamber. The room was packed with survivors from both species, the humans standing out among the taller, more delicate aliens. Wade, now recovered enough to walk with assistance, sat near the front with Dr. Reyes and other key members of the mission. Captain Chen's medical pod had been brought to the assembly so she could be present, though she remained in a healing coma. Elder Soren stepped onto the central platform, the shimmering lights of the chamber reflecting off his pearlescent skin. Friends? Soren began, using the human term deliberately. 36 years ago, our civilization faced extinction. We sent thousands of calls for help into the darkness of space, hoping someone would answer. The elder gestured toward the humans. Many believed no one would come. Some thought no species would risk their lives for strangers. But our ancient texts spoke of guardian species evolving on harsh worlds, biologically equipped to face threats that more peaceful species could not withstand. Soren moved to stand beside Admiral Takeda. These humans answered our call. They traveled across vast distances, faced an enemy they knew nothing about, and were willing to sacrifice everything to save us. They call themselves Deathworlders, a term our kind once used with fear. Now we say it with gratitude and admiration. Throughout the chamber, Lumini placed their hands over their chests in a gesture of respect. Many of the humans, understanding the significance, returned the gesture. Admiral Takeda stepped forward. The battle is won, but your world needs time to heal. Earth extends an offer of continued protection and assistance in rebuilding. In return, we would welcome the opportunity to learn from your advanced technology and cultural knowledge. It was a formal proposal of alliance offering mutual benefit rather than charity. The Lumini appreciated the respect this showed. Elder Soren accepted without hesitation, but then added something unexpected. We wish to establish diplomatic relations with all human colonies and Earth itself. Our isolation nearly led to our extinction. We will not make that mistake again. The assembly erupted in approving sounds, human cheers mixing with the musical tones of Lumini applause. You call yourselves Deathworlders, Elder Soren continued when the noise had settled. But we now see that what makes you formidable is not your capacity for violence, but your capacity for choice. You chose to answer strangers calling for help across vast distances. Such compassion combined with your biological resilience makes humanity not just protectors but worthy teachers. 1 month later, the human fleet prepared to return to Earth, leaving behind 2 ships and volunteers to help with the Lumini recovery efforts. Earth had already begun preparing additional fleets using improved Lumini technology in response to other distress calls they had detected. Captain Chen finally recovered enough to stand on her own, watched from the observation deck as the new ships were prepared for their missions. Dr. Reyes joined her, carrying a data tablet. More signals? Chen asked. Reyes nodded. At least 7 confirmed SOS transmissions from different sectors. Some appear to be from civilizations facing similar threats. Chen nodded thoughtfully. And we'll answer them all. On the planet below, Lieutenant Commander Wade, now General Wade by field promotion, addressed the first graduating class of the Joint Human Lumini Defense Academy. The cadets, a mix of both species, stood at attention before him. The galaxy calls us Deathworlders, he told them, his voice carrying across the parade ground. But we're something more. We're the species that runs toward the scream, not away from it. Today we answer another call, not because we seek glory or conquest, but because we understand something fundamental. The strong protect. That's what humans do. As the new Allied fleet prepared to depart, the Lumini presented Captain Chen, now Admiral Chen, with a symbolic gift, a modified version of their original SOS signal, now encoding a simple message to any threatened species in the galaxy. Hold fast. The Deathworlders are coming to help. The message was broadcast across thousands of light years, carrying hope to those who might be fighting their own desperate battles against overwhelming odds. In the vastness of space, other civilizations received the transmission. Some dismissed it as fantasy. Others dared to hope it might be true. And somewhere, in the darkest corners of the galaxy, the remaining devourers heard it too, and feared the species that had emerged from a world they would have considered uninhabitable. The Deathworlders were coming, and they were bringing friends.